Hi, guys. I want to welcome you back. Today, we have another one of my business mentors, and I am here with John Robertson, and we have known each other
Too long.
a while. Um, I didn't have gray hair when we met.
She's a very young lady, still is.
Thank you. So, as I've been sharing with you guys the mentors that I had, one of the places that I went first and foremost was to my church. And John and I were in the same church, and they were offering some leadership classes. And that's actually where I met John. And I went to his leadership class, and I completed all the series and really enjoyed. And I learned a great deal about me and things that I didn't know to question within myself, because taking care of self first helps you take care of those you're in charge of. So that was my takeaway from that. And then John helped me when I started the franchise. So, John, thank you for being here, and I so appreciate you.
What a delight to be here. I'm offering. I'm just delighted to have the opportunity to get reacquainted and catch up with you because you have been one of my dynamic stars who goes and grabs a hold of the tail of the kite and flies. And so I'm just really glad to come and stop and catch up with you and tell me a little bit about what you're doing and where we go from here.
Yeah. So you were in church, and you were leading leaders in our church. And how did you make that decision? Because you were retired before I came along. You were retired, and then you started leading and creating environments within the church to lead others, and in business, and in some people were business owners and some people were working in government. I'm trying to remember the classroom members I had, but can you tell us a little bit about how you made the decision to do this, and what you saw the outcome to be, and what you were hoping to launch out into the communities?
Wow, how many days do we have?
Keep it short.
Thanks for the question. As I reflect back on it, I'm a retired colonel in the Air Force, and so I spent 30 years in the Air Force leading and studying leaders and developing myself as a leader, but more than that, leading and understanding what leaders require in order to do well. As I brought that into the church and put it into the value sets that the church has, I began to realize that society, in many cases, misses the value set that they put the leadership framework around. And so oftentimes, leadership is defined not in terms of how well you lead, neither yourself or others, but in how well you accomplish projects.
Mm.
And so we're not here to talk about accomplishing a project because all too often I've seen a project leader do well and then put in a position of leading other leaders and fail miserably.
They were
Poorly
a good
equipped,
boss, but not a leader.
but not a leader. And they weren't equipped to handle a wide variety of things. For example, if I have an automobile, I want to find somebody who can repair my automobile. But if I have a fleet of automobiles, I can't expect an automobile mechanic to maintain my fleet of automobiles because I might have a truck and a car and a pickup and a diesel and a gasoline engine and electric, and I've got to have somebody who can think in all those different ways. The same is true for churches, it's true for businesses, it's true for anybody. And so as you see people raised to the next level, where they failed was they weren't mentored in a wide range of things, but more than that, they did not know how to lead themselves well. And that is only can only be taught in the church or through the values of the church. And it took me a good while to kind of put that all in perspective. Uh, In a situation that we were in, uh, what I began to see in the church was that we were no longer leading; we were maintaining. We didn't have anybody stepping forward in significant areas. And I'm not talking about taking a mission to Malawi. I'm talking about just leading in the day-to-day things of the church. We turned it all over to the pastor. The pastor had a few people he relied on, and so the church just kind of went into maintenance mode. They took care of the things that needed to be taken care of. He showed up on Sunday and gave us a sermon. So the the question was, how are we growing the members of the church to lead themselves well, and then to bring not only bring other people into the church, but that they were leading well in the community, the people they touched, and how people understood Christ was active in their lives. And so that was my concern as I began to stand up and say, we're not leading, and we aren't leading leaders, and we aren't teaching leaders. And so that got me into a wide range of things. Um, One of the things that I did was take a Christian leadership program with John Maxwell's group Equip to Russia and I did that six times over 3 years, and just begin to get a broader perspective of how others are leading in the church, what they see as their perspective for leaders, and then I brought that back into our church and what we need to accomplish.
And I have benefited from that because I've always been hungry to learn.
Yes, you are.
And
And you asked some hard questions. Sometimes I wasn't ready to give you the answer.
I remember the first class I went to. Um, I remember looking at the documents, and there's all these charts and graphs, and I'm like, "This is not a class for me. I'm bringing my husband next week. Is that okay?" Do you remember me saying that? Is it okay if I bring my husband next week? Because I was so overwhelmed. But the grace of God is so awesome. You answered everything for me, and you empowered me and equipped me to move forward. And I have a servant's heart, and I've always served people. I think you
Picked up on that pretty quickly.
Yeah. And one of the things that I did was I got a business, and mathematically, which is not my forte, you all know that. Um, if I would have come to you and said, analyze this business, should I buy it? I know for a fact you would have said no.
Well, I may not have recommended it.
Yeah, he never told me what to do, but you would be in a discussion if I went down that road. And being a coach to me in business, that was valuable because I needed to learn some things so that I could do what I do today.
And I'm impressed with where you are today. And you've grown immensely with not what I did, but with your own ability to recognize places and areas to work and grow, and filling yourself with those things. And I'm impressed with where you are today.
Well, thank you very much. You were my part of my real strong part of my foundation. Um, you came in. I asked you to come into my business and help me set it up so that I could get processes in place so that I could lead because I, I'm a great boss. I have a type A personality, and I sure have no problem telling you what to do.
You're right.
However, that's not who I am. And I want to grow with people and support people and have people smarter than myself in business. And so, as a coach, that's another thing that I had learned from you is that having people around me who know more in different areas, it's important for growth. It was also important that I support them, and finding out how to support them. Having a coach was invaluable because as a business owner in the day to day, I don't want to say worried because God took care of everything for me always. That, um, but I still had to worry and make sure the money was coming in.
Always, always.
And my mindset when it came to money was, do I have enough money to make sure that employee has the roof over their head, their car payment, their groceries
All of their needs.
way before mine?
Yes.
And sometimes maybe that didn't make me a very good business owner. However, the business I bought was negative in the hole. It did not have a good business model, and I was doing it from a place of service. And I learned a lot. I gained so much information, and boy, it kept me on my toes and learning.
It did, but the one thing that I was most impressed with was, one, you had the ability to learn. Two, you had the discipline to put it in place. There's a lot of, I've probably, over the last 25 years, I've done a lot of leadership consulting, mostly at the CEO level, some startups. The largest is probably 300 million, something like that. But in every case, the CEOs had to learn to look in themselves, find the areas that they could work on, and then have the discipline to stay with it. And so, uh, what you had early on was the discipline to fail and learn, and then grow out of that. There's a book out there somewhere that said, failure is the bumps that you climb on to
Yeah, to
succeed.
get where you need to be.
So I never uh, I never hesitated to encourage somebody to go fail, if you will, or go
Right.
try it and learn from it. And you were willing to do that. The discipline to learn from those failures and put that in place to walk on, to go to the next level is probably almost to the point of rare because um, we have this little voice in our head that says, if I failed once, I don't want to fail like that again. Maybe I just won't do it again. Rather than saying, oh, okay, that's what I needed to learn this time. Let me go do it again so I can do it better. If you're an athlete, you constantly fail. You learn how to do it better.
Yep.
That's all you spend your time doing. If you're an outstanding CEO, you constantly fail. You constantly redo. You're constantly refocusing on where you are. But it requires, in both cases, the discipline to come back to partly the basics of where I started from, and partly what did I learn that makes my next step a better step, an easier step. Maybe not easier, but a forward step. I wrote a book called Focus Forward Leadership for that very reason, to grow and step on the failures that you make in order to be a better CEO or a better dad or a better husband or a better person in Christ. Uh, Better lead yourself well, so to speak. Uh, and so that's the very thing that I saw out of you that I missed in so many of the times with the other CEOs that they would get sidetracked in another interest and go sideways rather than staying focused on what they needed to do to grow their business.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Because as you were talking, I was like, oh, I can just recall some of the big hairy carry ones, and one of them cost me $18,000, and oh, and then it was like, okay, that was a mistake. What do I need to learn? What did I miss? And those were the questions I would ask. What did I miss? Who didn't I listen to?
Mm-hmm.
Because God puts people in your life if you're asking the questions, and there's no dumb question.
No, that's
Well, well, there might be, but I don't care. If it's a question for me, I don't care if it's dumb or not. I need the answer.
right. Oh,
So
that means it's not a dumb question if you need the answer.
right, right. But some people are like, oh, it'll hold them back. They don't want to ask questions. And I ask questions. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I don't even know how to ask them. But if you talk enough, that person you're asking will figure it out if they're the one to give you the answer.
That's right. That's right. And that would be many times as I went back and worked with my CEO clients. Uh, we would talk about the same thing again and again and again, and they would often wonder. Why are you bringing this subject up? Why are you bringing this subject up? Well, I'm trying to process it, get them to process it in such a way with the amount of time that has passed, events in their life since the last time we talked, that they could put that back in perspective a little bit better in terms of where they want to go. Because every business has to stay focused on its vision, if they have one. Yeah. They have to stay focused on the goals they've set and how well they're doing. They have to stay focused on how they're making decisions that move that forward and how they cast that vision into their companies so that their companies pick up that same energy. And so it's really an interesting walk in terms of how well the CEO leads themselves as they come in and go through the stress of all the different kinds of things they have to do.
Yeah. One time there was an employee that was late, and I don't know if you recall this or not. And it was one of my key employees, and you asked me what I was modeling to them. Guess what? I looked at it and I was like, ooh, if the doors open at 10, I'm showing up at 10. Well, there's other things that needed to be done before those doors open at 10. But really, I was arrogant. And I was like, I'm the boss, I'm the owner. I can show up when I want to. No, you can't when you are leading by example.
That's right.
And so I think it was, if you're not here at 9:45 for a 10 o'clock start, you're late, period. So now I'm kind of anal. I still have my clocks set, and I randomly set them like at least 5 to 7 minutes. I don't know which one, doesn't matter, because I'm going to be on time. Mm-hmm. And if I am not early, I may be sitting in the parking lot waiting, till your doors open, but I'm early. It makes me uncomfortable to not, because it's an honor thing for me now. Yeah, I am absolutely honoring the people I'm leading, and I'm honoring the person whose time I have.
Absolutely.
And that has carried me really far. In it's a little thing, but it really has carried me quite far.
That's that discipline thing I'm talking about, where you have not only established what you need to do, but then now you put the discipline together so that it's a habit. And now you're uncomfortable when you break that habit, you break that train. That's what we talk about when we're talking about leading ourselves well. Because when you build those habits, you build in a discipline, you build in a momentum for where you want to go. And if you constantly are up and down, then you're constantly restarting your momentum, and you never have a chance to really drive your business forward.
I just love that you just said the word momentum. My business name, it's Life Momentum with Anna B. And it's a shell, which is a whole different story. That's more of a personal, emotional one with my son who died. But life momentum, life is momentum. And I want to help you not go over. And
go
that's
over.
why I have
what
that
do you mean
shell.
By go over?
My logo is a shell, and it arches over.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
I want to get you here in your momentum, not over. Okay. And so that's why I named my business Life Momentum, because it's finding people like you in other communities. They can be found. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But you've got to look for them. You've got to be open and receptive.